All right, in this lesson, I'm going to be focusing on trying to prove whether this parallelogram is a rhombus, like I promised on the last video. However, that is not the only question which is included in this particular video. So let's read the information. In the diagram, ABCD is a parallelogram. E is the midpoint of AC and side AB. So E is the midpoint of line AC, and side AB cuts the x-axis at F. So this side AB, it cuts this x-axis at this point F, which is written here. But observe, F does not have coordinates. But what do we know about F if it's cutting here on the x-axis? From our functions, we know that point F is what we call an x-intercept. Now let's see. Determine 1. The coordinates of D and E. So point D does not have coordinates, point E does not have coordinates. However, this is when you now use the advantage of Euclidean, knowing the properties of what? Of this particular parallelogram. What do we know? If we're having a parallelogram, we know that the diagonal points here, they meet at a common point. So if we do not have the coordinates of point D, it's fine, but we can use the coordinates of line AC. So we must find the midpoint of line AC. When we find the coordinates of this midpoint, we then use the midpoint formula to find the coordinates of point D. So let's do that. So when we start, we now say midpoint line AC is equal to, remember it's x1 plus x2, so the x1 is -1, the x2 is +3. So I've got a -1 plus a +3 divided by 2. Then I go to the y1 which is 4, and a y2 which is 2. So I've got 4 plus 2 divided by 2, and voila. Now I say -1 plus 3, it gives me a +2. So I've got 2 over 2, and 4 plus 2 is equal to 6. So I've got 6 over 2. And 2 divided by 2 is equals to 1. 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3. So I conclude that therefore the midpoint of line AC is equals to 1:3. But this midpoint, we were asked for it as E. So then I conclude that therefore E, the coordinates are 1 and 3. X is 1, Y is 3. Now I have found the coordinates for E. Now I must find the coordinates of D. What do? I use the midpoint formula. So in the case of line BD, the midpoint, let me write it. We would say midpoint BD is equal to XB plus XD divided by 2 and YB plus YD divided by 2, like that. However, in this case, what do we have? We know that the midpoint for BD is the same as the midpoint for AC. So we know that we have got X coordinate and Y coordinate. So here we start by looking for the X coordinate of point D. So on my midpoint, now I'm going to say, what is my X? My X is 1. So I fill out 1 here and I say is equal to. Then my XB is -2. So I say I've got -2 here, plus I do not know the X at point D. So I say plus XD, like that, or divided by 2, right? That's what I do first. Now from this point, observe, I want to get rid of this what? This denominator. So I multiply by 2, I multiply by 2. 2 into 2, it's 1. And 2 times 1 is equal to 2, which is equals to negative 2 plus xd. I transpose this negative 2, it becomes 2 plus 2 is equals to xd. So therefore, I say x at point D is equal to 4. So now I know that my x at point D is 4. Now I must find the y. What do? I come to this y of the midpoint, which is 3. So I now say 3 is equal to, my y at point B is what? Negative 2. So I've got negative 2 plus my y at point D that I do not know, all over 2. What do? I multiply by 2 and I multiply by 2. These 2 they cancel, and then now I say 2 multiplied by 3, which is equal to 6, which is equals to negative 2 plus the y coordinate at point D. Now I'm going to transpose this, it becomes 6 plus 2, which is equals to that. Then I conclude that therefore my y coordinate at point D is equals to 6 plus 2, which is 8. But I was not asked in terms of yd or xd. I was asked in terms of what? In terms of point D. So I've got 8 here. So I say, therefore, the coordinates of point D are what? The x coordinate is 4 and the y coordinate is 8. And just like that, I have found the coordinates of D. So I'm done with the first part of the question. Now we must determine whether or not ABCD is a rhombus. So what am I going to do? I'm going to erase here. I'm going to erase so that I may answer that question. Now, what do I know about a rhombus? I know that a rhombus is like a square. A square has got 4 equal sides. So which means if this shape is a rhombus, this line AB will be equal to line BC. Look at me. When I erased the coordinate x here at point B, which was negative 2. So I'm going to calculate the distance of line AB. So now I say AB is equal to, I open the bracket here. What do I know about AB, or my distance formula? I now say XB minus XA. So my x at B is negative 2, right? Minus my x there, it's negative 1. So let me put square brackets rather. Then here I use curly brackets, then I put a square bracket. I say squared plus open bracket y here is negative 2 and there is 4. So I've got negative 2 minus 4 close bracket squared. Then only do I put the lid for the square root. Now, which is equals to, I now say negative multiplied by negative, it gives me a positive. So now at this stage I've got negative 2 and a positive 1, and it's squared, plus negative 2 negative 4 is negative 6. So I've got a negative 6 squared. Then here negative 2 plus 1, it gives me negative 1, and negative 1 squared gives me a positive 1. So I say square root of, I now have 1 plus negative 6 squared with brackets gives me a positive 36. Positive 36 there. And 36 plus 1 is equals to what? Square root of 37. So the answer that you get is in sad form. So I say therefore AB is equals to square root of 37. I found this side. Now I must find the distance for BC. Now I say BC is equals to, now I must start with XC. So I say, open bracket, my exit point C is what? Let me put a square bracket because I've got a negative 2 that I'm going to deal with here. Right? There's a negative 2 I'm going to deal with. What's happening now? The lighting. Alright. So I've got a 3. So I say 3 minus open bracket minus 2 square bracket squared plus my y here is 2. So I open the bracket, I say 2 square bracket minus open bracket minus 2 close and then squared. Then I do that. Then from there, now this negative and negative gives us a positive. So now I've got open bracket a 3 plus 2 squared plus negative negative, it's a positive, open bracket 2 plus 2 squared. And obviously 3 plus 2 is equals to 5, and 5 squared is equal to 25. So I've got 25 plus 2 plus 2, 4. 4 squared is equals to 16. Now I've got 25 plus 16, which is equal to 41. I've got square root of 41. Now observe the answers that we got. On the first one, line AB, also let me conclude here that therefore BC is equals to square root of 41. This is square root of 37, this is square root of 41. They are not identical. So which means I now conclude. Therefore, ABCD is not a rhombus. ABCD is not a rhombus. Done. Now comes the last part to the question where they want the coordinates of F. They want the coordinates of F. Remember I said earlier on F is a what? Is an x-intercept. So what do we do? What we need to do here to find the coordinates, we need to first find the gradient of line AB. So I'm going to erase this part because there are some lengthy calculations that we have to do. It's not difficult, they are just lengthy, the calculations. So we are now saying the gradient, remember letter M represents the gradient. Gradient AB is equal to y2 minus y1. We've got negative 2 minus 4. So negative 2 minus 4, right, all over x2, which is our negative 2, minus our x1, which is negative 1. Negative 1. Negative 2, negative 4 is equals to negative 6. And here, negative, negative, it's a positive. So we've got negative 2, positive 1, which is now negative 6 over what? Over negative 1. And a negative divided by a negative, it gives us a positive. So 6 divided by 1 is equals to 6. So therefore, we conclude that our gradient for line AB is equal to 6. All right. Now, what was the purpose of finding the gradient? We need to determine the what? The equation of this straight line. The equation of this straight line. So we have got two formulas. We can use y is equals to mx plus c, which comes from your grade 9, or you can use y minus y1 is equals to m open bracket x minus x1. So here is a tip. On this particular question, they didn't tell us which formula to use. So I'm going to use this one. Y minus y1 is equals to m open bracket x minus x1. This is introduced in grade 10. It's your first time hearing about this, right? Why do I prefer this one? Because it takes me to the answer straight. This one, it has got a stop and go, stop and go. So that's why I don't prefer it, because some people, when they find the first answer, they think that that is the final answer, whereas that's not the case. So I'm going to write y and then minus the y1. I take any point here on this line. So I'm going to use these coordinates -1 and 4 because they are friendly. So the y is 4. So I say 4 here is equals to m. Remember, it represents the gradient, and we just found that the gradient is 6. So we write 6 here, open bracket. This x we write nothing. So we repeat, we are not substituting it. Minus x1. The x1, we're taking it from the point A where we found the y. So minus 1. So square brackets here, square brackets there. So now I've got y minus 4 is equals to 6. Remember, I must start in the brackets, my board must rule. So negative, negative, it's a positive. So now I've got x plus 1, like that. Next thing, what am I going to do? I'm still having brackets, so which means I can't do anything else other than to deal with the brackets. 6 multiplied by x, which is 6x. 6 multiplied by 1, which is a positive 6. Now only do I get to transpose the -4. So now I've got y is equals to 6x plus 6. It was a negative. When you transpose it, it becomes a positive 4. Now we've got y is equals to 6x. Actually, I must conclude that therefore y is equals to 6x, and 6 plus 4 is equals to 10. Plus what? 10. This is the equation of this line A, B. But remember, they want the coordinates of point F. And what do we know? We said that point F is located here on the x-intercept. What do we know about the x-intercept? Whenever you're having the x-intercept, as you can see, there is no y on top or at the bottom. So whenever you're dealing with the x-intercept, immediately you say let y equal to 0. Where there is y, you write number 0. So because we're dealing with the x-intercept, we're saying that on this equation that we found, y is equals to 6x plus 10. Where there is this y, we put 0. So we're now going to write 0 is equals to 6x plus 10. We are now finding the coordinate of what? X. So now we transpose this positive 10, it becomes a negative 10 is equals to 6x. From there, what do? We want x, we divide by 6, we divide by 6. Then we come to the left side, we say therefore x is equals to 6 into 6 is 1. That's why we wrote x. And negative divided by positive, it is a negative. And then we've got a common factor for 10 and 6, which is 2. So 2 into 10 is 5. So we've got a negative 5 over 2 into 6 is what? 3. So our x is equal to negative 5 over 3. But remember, the question was asking for the coordinates of f. So I now say therefore my coordinates for f are, for point f are negative 5 over 3, and the y coordinate, remember we said it was equals to 0, equal to 0 like this. So then we are done. That's how you find the coordinates and everything else that we dealt with on this particular question. So if this video was helpful to you, please consider to subscribe, like the video, share with other people, and comment. If there are questions or there's something that you didn't understand, or you have got suggestions about upcoming videos, please use the comment section to put forward your thoughts. Thank you.